Hey, everybody. Welcome to Opposite Saxes. You know what day and time it is.
What
Do
the
you?
time
Do
is
you?
Thursday.
Good.
Yeah.
What time?
1 o'clock.
Very good.
But I didn't say anything at the start of the show because our topic today is mum.
I know.
Mum's the word.
I know, but I think people thought that we had lost it.
Well, they've been thinking that for years, especially in my case. I've often said that you're the person that makes this show. Because some people
You
say
are so wrong.
say, yeah, that guy Stuart, huh?
You know exactly what to
Oh,
say. I've always said that. You are a man with way with words.
and because behind every good man is a better woman.
That's what I mean. You know exactly what to say.
I subscribe to that. But we were talking about earlier about the fact that sometimes you just got to keep your big mouth
We've been
shut.
in social situations. And the things that have come out of some of our friends and other people's mouths is amazing to me.
Yeah. And
I
afterwards
I think you should know, but I guess people don't realize what they're saying.
yeah, remember that old phrase, too much information?
Yeah,
And all
yeah.
and if sometimes on the way home we will say to ourselves, can you believe that so and so said what they said? That seemed to be a little bit more than I would have shared
Yeah,
in
yeah,
public.
yeah, yeah. Like when they talk about their spouse,
Yeah.
I think that's a little off base.
Yeah. Well, when they want to share
Private things. I mean,
more
if it's,
more details of their intimate life or just their life situation, very often when in with regards to a a toxic family situation,
Mhm.
that something that is a family situation really probably should be kept within the family. But sometimes they spill their guts about who did what and why and how, and I'm never going to talk to
Oh
them.
boy.
And you think, why are you sharing that with me? I'm not your relative, and I'm not part of this. Or maybe in fact, you are friends with the person that they're angry with,
Yeah.
and they're trying to win you over on their side. And sometimes I scratch my head and I say, why? You know,
That's number three
I,
out of 20
I
things you're not supposed to say.
yeah, I think social media has allowed us to voice our
Yes, yeah.
opinions.
Social media, like we said on the last show, it's unfortunately
Well, and
with a lot of the good stuff comes the bad, and social media does
sometimes
that.
people will air their laundry
Right,
on social
right.
media when they should keep it private. For instance, when you would ask any personal information about, how much money do you make, or what is your job pay? Uh,
I would never
that,
think of asking anyone that, but people do.
I mean, maybe I could see if you got into a conversation with somebody that says we have an opening in our company for another receptionist or something like that, and it's part-time,
Yes,
and you say, "Oh,
meal,
that
yeah,
sounds interesting," and all. Do maybe like how many days a week it
right.
involves, and can you give me just a ballpark figure of the compensation? Because if I've got to travel an hour to get there and back,
Yeah, something like
I want to
that.
make
That's a
sure it's
little different.
worth my while.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
very often, when I, I, I hate to say it, but sometimes people of means like to promote that. You know,
That's true.
yeah, no, we're putting in a new pool in the yard because, well, we just got tired of the old pool. You know,
Or we're
uh,
taking a 30-day cruise,
yeah, and
and
then we'll be,
so we won't see you for a
and maybe
while.
maybe we'll get together for dinner as soon as we get back because a week later we leave on another cruise. Okay, so what do you?
It's very nice if you could do it, I think, but
Yeah,
I think after a while it
we're
kind of
we're going on a
turns people
cruise
off.
next week and then another cruise the following week. But let's get together for a burger. You're cruising, do you want to go out for a burger?
The political situation has driven people to a lot of rants and
Oh, yeah,
raves.
and you
And
know
so on
me,
that,
I've shut the door on that.
yeah.
I mean, because people don't discuss politics anymore. what they all they do is they try to sway people's political
Hmm.
viewpoints and political uh, uh, alliances, and instead of getting down to brass tacks.
And the other thing is uh, telling people what you think they should do, unless they've asked.
Yeah.
Then yeah, if they ask, that's one thing. But if they don't ask, I don't give an opinion. I just
And I
let
have
it
a hard
go.
time with opinion because sometimes if they ask me for my opinion and I think about it and I give them my honest opinion and it's not really the opinion that they were looking for, you think, are they ever going to ask me again? And I mean, I am opinionated.
Yeah,
I
and I
always
am
have
too.
been.
I am
And
too.
I try to offer an opinion logically
Yeah.
if you ask me about it. How do you feel about this proposal in the city that they want to build this or they want to improve that and they're asking for $5 million or something? You know, what's your opinion? What do you think? I'll reason it out.
I think when I was younger, I was much more opinionated and didn't realize that probably wasn't the thing to be or do. And I think age has kind of softened me. And I just take a step back and I let it go, as you say, unless you're asked for your opinion. I just, okay, whatever you think you need to do,
We
and I let it go.
we just live in a more volatile time where somebody asks you for your opinion, like you said years ago, it was usually because they really cared about your answer. Today, it's because they have an agenda and they're trying to sway you into their line of thinking. And if you
In
don't, it
some
can get
ways,
argumentative
some
sometimes.
ways, but no, and not in all ways. In some
No,
ways,
not in all ways.
no.
Another,
I,
I was
I
to say one of them that I see that's on the list is you don't ever want to tell a coworker or a friend or a neighbor or something that you're thinking about quitting your job. It's
yeah,
on the list.
yeah, that's a
Not
no
a good
no.
idea.
That's a no
It
no.
all goes back to you know, and you've probably been in the situation. I don't know if I have, where you say to somebody, I got something I want to tell you, but you got to promise not to
Yeah,
tell anybody.
right.
Well, that was probably what was said to the person previously that said that to you. I'll tell you, but don't tell anybody. And you turn around and you say, I'll tell you something, but don't tell anybody. And all of a sudden, there's too many people that are in the loop when the original person really wanted to keep that secret themselves, but for some reason they couldn't.
I have one or two girlfriends that I could say that to, and there is no doubt in my mind,
It's going to get around the block.
no, that it will not.
Oh, that it
That
won't.
it
Yeah,
will not.
that's me.
Now, as we get older, we tend to forget anyway, because I can remember my mom's telling her girlfriends in the retirement home she didn't have to worry about what they said because they never remembered anything. But, but yeah, but I don't. I watch what I
If
say.
you're going to share something, share it with somebody that's got
Good dementia.
dementia because they won't remember it anyway.
But but yeah, you're right. I just am very careful about some things, about
Well,
what I
and
say.
and sometimes years later, something will be revealed,
Hmm.
and I have said I did know about that. Well, why didn't you tell me?
Because I would,
Because
you
I
told me
was
that
asked
once,
not
not
to.
to
And so I didn't, and I don't. But now that it is
revealed
fair game and
out.
it's out there, then okay, I was asked to keep my mouth shut, and I did.
Sometimes I think the men are better off keeping their secrets than the women.
Yeah, I think so. Well, maybe it's because sometimes the men are the secret.
Well, that's yeah, yeah, really about that's
Stop and think
fine.
about that one,
Yeah,
folks.
yeah, 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 yeah. Um,
But
yeah, monies. I don't, telling people what you spend your money on. Well, I guess if you want to, but I just that's I don't go there either.
yeah, a
Uh,
lot of what we're talking about falls under that category of gossip.
yeah.
It's that need to know and then the need to share. But doing so can be harmful in more ways than sometimes we realize it.
Do you find now you have a dinner group of guys? You have two dinner groups of guys,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah.
Do you find that you guys are I'm not asking what you talk about, and I'm not asking for deep, dark secrets, but do you find that you do talk amongst yourselves about certain things that are going on with them?
In a word, yes. There are certain guys in one of the groups that just spills his guts on everything. Not only true stuff, but also his opinion on everything. And sometimes I think, you really should maybe keep your
Tone it
opinion
down.
to yourself. But then again, that's the modern times is that people always are sharing their opinion because they're trying to influence other people to follow their opinion. And I have said point blank, you know what? I don't really I'm not really interested in getting into a discussion on that.
Hmm.
Now, that person either lets it ride or they turn to somebody else at the table to try and engage them in that discussion. If we're talking about sports, that's one thing, because you either like the
Yeah,
home
well,
team or you don't like the home team.
that's like fair territory.
And yeah, and you talk about who's a good player, who's a bad player, and they
Mhm.
just trade this guy.
Right.
That's one thing. But when you get into a discussion of, I heard that this player did this to that guy, and,
Hmm.
and all it that is hearsay
Shaming.
unless I know more about it. And I'm not afraid to say, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm dumb. I don't know a thing about what you're talking about. Uh,
But you've personally said, I'm not going to engage in your conversation or
Absolutely.
really?
Well, number one, I don't want
Good
to
for
engage.
you.
I don't want to engage in a conversation on a subject that I am not familiar
Yeah,
with,
yeah, right. And
that
it
I'm
makes
not
sense.
knowledgeable. I mean, if somebody says, where should I when I go to visit Puerto Rico, what should I visit? Okay, I might say to them, go up to the rainforest. Make sure you visit the old city,
Hmm.
the fascinating cobblestone streets, and
Well, that's
some of the
different.
neat shop.
That's
And
different
you
though.
give an opinion because that is something that I'm, at least a little bit familiar
Yeah, but
with.
that's also not hurting anybody.
Yeah,
That's
but
fair
but if
game.
somebody was to ask me for an opinion on a place that I have never been, I would say Google it and find out. Look at the
But if somebody
reviews.
said they were having a problem with their spouse, their significant other, whatever, would you say, uh,
Not,
I agree. I'm not sure what you're doing is right, or you would stay mum, I would think.
I, I
You would
I
not
would
say
I would
anything.
try to because
Yeah.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I don't want to say something that could be damaging, not only to the person I'm talking to, but maybe to their spouse, who I also may know or be
Hmm.
friends with.
Hmm. Hmm.
Again, that's where
I
you're
think that's the
probably
difference between the men and the women.
the women like to give more of an opinion.
Yeah, they like to get everybody else's opinions, to see if their opinion is right or wrong. Um, but yet sometimes things can get too personal. And again, there's only, like you say, too much information.
Yeah, and do we have the ability, if it gets too personal, to just say, you know what,
I'm
you're
out.
you're you're going in a direction that I don't want to
I
go,
just don't
and
say anything.
I'm out, or I'd rather
Yeah,
let's talk about
I
something
just kind
else.
of listen and see what everybody else says and hope that the conversation will go in a different direction.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
One of the other topics that's difficult and you shouldn't get too deep into the discussion is parenting.
oh, well, we
Parent
went through that
parenting and
last time.
grandparenting, and we've had discussions about it, and all you have to be careful. And in regards to any touchy subject, it's a good idea to do your due diligence and go online and see what maybe some experts have to say in the field, and then say, is that something that I can adapt myself to? And yes, I can see where that might be the wrong move for me, so I'm not gonna go there.
Mm, that's a good idea, yeah.
It's common sense,
Well, we talked about it
you
because
know.
last time I think I was talking about Psychology Today and how I got an opinion of a psychologist on the website. But
And how many times has somebody said, "I don't need to go to psychology today.
I know everything.
I know everything,"
And that's
and,
why
and they want to sit and share everything with you.
I,
And you say, "Get yourself a rowboat and go out in the middle of the lake and drop
you might say,
drop your bait and try and catch something, or was it Johnny Paycheck
yeah.
who had the here's a quarter, go call somebody who cares."
Here's another interesting one. Your entire past and your mistakes, your entire past mistakes. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know
it's
what?
hindsight. You would say it's hindsight. We're moving forward.
You know what my answer would be to somebody like that? I would say, you know what? You should really write a book. If you have all of those experiences and they're so fresh in your mind, sit down and put them on paper. If you can do it yourself, fine. If not, engage a ghostwriter to help you write your memoir and then share it to the public. Sell 1 million copies and become rich and famous. Don't sit here and share it with me while I'm trying to enjoy my taco salad.
Because I have my own past histories
Yeah,
or
yeah,
just
yeah. You know, and also how often do you get in discussions with people and you realize that I've been there and done that, and I really don't want to revisit
visit.
it. That
That's
if
true.
you're going through it, I know what you mean, but I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not going to tell you whether you should take the right fork in the road or the left
Yeah.
fork. You got to determine that on your own.
Yeah. That's true.
And I always keep thinking about Judge Judy, who always tells the plaintiff or the defendant and all, I want you to listen to what I'm saying. That's why God gave you 2 ears and one mouth. She says that often.
Well, and most people,
Yeah.
if you listen to Dr. Laura, you know, three-quarters of the people that call up, they all say, I know what you're going to say, but I had to call just to make sure that you were going to say it.
Yeah.
And they know in their hearts what they're doing is wrong or what they're saying is wrong, but they just want verification.
Yeah. But if Dr. Laura takes the opposite
Oh, yeah.
opinion,
Are you?
you know, yeah, oh, I love it when they call up and they, Dr. Laura, I've been listening to you for 15 years and I so value all the information. And then Dr. Laura proceeds to carve out a brand new backside for them and tell them how wrong they are and how stupid they
And you
are.
wonder, really? You couldn't have been listening to her for that
Yeah.
many years.
And you never
And
picked up
yeah, on
on
what she said.
what she might say.
Oh, well.
Or when Dr. Laura gives them information and they weren't really listening because they say,
Oh, yeah.
but Dr. Laura, she said this and I think that and Dr. Laura who's big on taking her pen and tapping it on
Yeah.
the
Yes, on the table.
on the table. Wait, listen,
Yeah,
and,
she's funny.
you're not listening to me. I told you, don't go there. But Dr. Laura, I feel like well, then if you feel like that, then you didn't need to call
Yeah,
me.
why'd you call me? And it's not about feelings. That's what she'll say too.
Yeah.
It's not about feelings.
And I mean, the bottom line to this whole discussion is that sometimes keeping your mouth
Shut.
shut and not going down that path is going to be the best salvation for you.
Yeah, but it's hard for
And
some people.
well, in the long run, it should be harder on the person that's instigating this toxic conversation rather than going there
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't serve a purpose. Yeah, especially if it's in a family conversation because you always realize that sometimes there's one family member that's trying to get you to support their opinion and maybe you have the opposite opinion and you don't want to lose that connection, that relationship, because you have an opposing
Right.
viewpoint.
Right.
And also sometimes, as we said at the top of the show, mum's the word.
Well, thank you, Dr. Stewart, for your very wise opinions.
Yeah.
And hopefully everyone will be back next week.
Right. And go out and have reasonable discussions and don't ever be afraid to say, I don't want to talk about that, except to us. If you don't want to talk about something, fine, then reach out to us and say, this is what I would like
To
to
talk
talk
about.
about. Okay?
We can do that.
Yeah, we can do that. Catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye.